The keys were still warm in my hand. I could hear them pounding on the front door of my lake house. My dad. My stepmom. Her 2 sons. Open this door. We drove 6 hours to get here. I didn't move. I just stood in the kitchen staring at the security feed on my phone. I was watching the woman who told me I wasn't real family now begging to get into the home I built. 3 weeks earlier she'd said those exact words to my face. At my father's birthday dinner in front of 20 people. You're not real family. You don't get a say. She thought I'd swallow it the way I always had. She thought I'd cry a little and forgive a lot and show up with a casserole at Christmas like nothing happened. She was wrong. Because that night I made a decision that would tear our family apart and maybe finally save what was left of me. This is the story of how I locked my own father out of my lake house and why 3 weeks later I still don't regret it. Stay with me because what happened next is going to make you ask yourself some hard questions about loyalty, blood, and what respect is actually supposed to cost. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I tell real stories about family, boundaries, and the choices we make to protect our peace even when those choices cost us people we love. Today's story is personal and messy, and I already know it's going to split the comment section right down the middle. Before we get into it, I want you to sit with this question for a second. If the people who raised you told you out loud in front of everyone that you didn't belong, would you still hand them the keys? Drop the word family in the comments if you've ever had to draw a hard line with relatives. I read every single one and honestly they're half the reason I keep making these. Okay, let's get into it. My mom died when I was 12. Cancer. It moved fast, faster than the doctors expected and faster than we were ready for. One spring she was driving me to soccer practice and by winter she was gone. For 2 years after that it was just me and my dad. 2 plates at the table instead of 3. We didn't talk about it much, but we didn't have to. We were a team and we survived each other's worst days, and somehow that made us closer. When I was 14 he met Linda, my stepmom. In the beginning she was warm. She braided my hair before school and asked how my classes were going and actually remembered the answers. I wanted my dad to be happy again so badly, so I tried. I really did try. They got married when I was 16. Her 2 sons Jason and Mark moved in, 19 and 21, already grown and already set in their ways. The house got louder. The rules quietly rewrote themselves. And somewhere in there I went from my daughter to just the girl in a house I used to call home. I still remember the first time Linda corrected my dad in front of me. I'd asked, half joking, if we could still do our Friday movie nights just the 2 of us like we always had. Linda cut in before he could answer. Don't let her guilt trip you, Tom, you're the parent here. That was it, that was the whole sentence, and something in my dad's face just folded. After that it was 100 small things that turned into a handful of big ones. My college fund, the one my mom set aside before she got sick, became family money in Linda's mouth. The lake house, the one my parents bought together back when mom was healthy and the future still looked simple, became our retirement plan according to a woman who'd never once mowed its lawn. I bit my tongue through all of it. My dad looked happy and some stubborn part of me still believed that was worth almost anything. So I put my head down. I studied, I got a scholarship, and I started a small business at 22 out of a spare bedroom with a laptop and a stupid amount of stubbornness. By 28 I'd sold it for more money than I ever expected to see in my life. The first thing I did with that money wasn't a car or a vacation. It was the lake house. I bought out my dad's half legally and cleanly through a lawyer with a deed and a closing date and everything. He needed the cash for the down payment on their new condo and I needed the one place that still felt like my mother was in the room. Linda hated it. She told my dad I was taking what was hers. He told her to let it go. My name was on the deed. Case closed. Or so I thought. 3 weeks ago was my dad's 65th birthday. I flew in for it and booked a private room at his favorite steakhouse. 20 people, his brothers, his cousins, old friends from the plant where he worked for 30 years. I paid for all of it and I didn't mind. I wanted that night to be good for him. And for a while it was. Dinner was good, the toasts were funny, and my dad laughed harder than I'd seen him laugh in years. Then Linda stood up to give her own toast. She thanked everyone for coming and talked about how blessed she felt to have such a big close family around the table. And then, glass still raised, she turned and looked directly at me. "And Tom, I just want to say, I know blending our families hasn't always been easy. But at the end of the day you have to understand something. Jason and Mark are my blood. You're Tom's daughter. You're not real family to me. So when it comes to family decisions, the lake house, the will, any of it, you don't get a say." The room went dead silent. Somewhere behind me a fork hit a plate and my aunt actually choked on her wine. I looked at my dad. He looked down at his food. He didn't say a word, didn't correct her, didn't even flinch. Something in my chest went hot and cold at the same time. 12-year-old me, the one who'd lost her mother and clung to her father like a life raft, was screaming somewhere deep inside. 28-year-old me, the one who'd paid for that entire dinner, just quietly stood up. I was calm. I remember being surprised by how calm I was. I said, "Thank you for your honesty, Linda, it's good to finally know where I stand." I put my napkin on the table, walked around, kissed my dad on the forehead, and left. I didn't slam a door and I didn't raise my voice. I just walked out into the parking lot and sat in my car for 10 minutes before I could drive. My phone started buzzing before I even got to the hotel. My dad wrote, "You embarrassed her at her own husband's birthday." My aunt wrote, "Are you okay?" Jason wrote, "Bit dramatic, don't you think?" I didn't answer any of them. I booked the first flight home for 6 the next morning. And somewhere around midnight, wide awake in a hotel bed, I made a different call, to the property manager who looks after the lake house when I'm not there. "Change the codes," I told her. "Effective tonight. Nobody gets in without my written approval. Nobody." For 2 weeks nothing happened. No calls, no texts, just silence sitting in my phone like a held breath. Then on a Friday afternoon it rang. My dad. "We're at the lake house," he said. 4th of July weekend, like we do every year. "The code isn't working." "I know," I said. There was a pause. Then Linda's voice sharp in the background. "Tell her to open the door, we have groceries melting in the car." My dad came back on, softer now. "Sweetheart, come on, don't do this, we drove 6 hours. I took a breath before I answered. "Dad, 3 weeks ago at your birthday, in front of our entire family, your wife told me I wasn't real family. You sat there and you said nothing. You let her say it." "She didn't mean it the way it sounded," he said. "She meant it exactly the way it sounded," I said. "And if I'm not real family, then I don't have real family obligations. That house is mine, I paid for it, and it's the last place on earth that still feels like my mother. I don't open my home to people who've told me I don't belong in it." He started raising his voice. I could hear Linda shouting something behind him and I heard what sounded like Jason kicking the door. I hung up. Then, with my hands shaking, I opened the security app on my phone. And there they were, all 4 of them right there on my porch, coolers and duffel bags stacked around their feet. Linda was jabbing her finger at the camera, her face blotchy and furious. I pressed the intercom button. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Linda, you were right. I'm not real family, so you don't get real family access. Please leave my property. I've already called the sheriff's office. If you're not gone in 10 minutes, it's trespassing." My dad stepped closer to the camera. For the first time that whole call he looked less angry than just broken. "Baby girl, please, we can talk about this." "We could have talked about it 3 weeks ago," I said, "when you had the chance to tell your wife she was wrong. You didn't. You chose her. so now I'm choosing me. They left. The sheriff's office called an hour later to confirm the property was clear. No charges filed, just a formal warning on record in case there was a next time. The family group chat lit up within the hour. My aunt wrote you did the right thing, I'm proud of you. My uncle wrote you went too far, he's your father for God's sake. Jason wrote hope you're happy with yourself, selfish brat. My dad hasn't called since. The last text he sent me just says I don't know who you are anymore. I sat with that message open on my phone for almost an hour just staring at it. And here's what I finally landed on. He's right, he doesn't know who I am anymore, because the girl who used to sit quietly and absorb it, who smiled through the small cruelties to keep the family calm, she died a little at that dinner table. And I'm not in a hurry to bring her back. I'm not telling you this story so you'll think I'm the hero. I'm not telling it so you'll think I'm the villain either. I'm telling it because I know someone watching this right now is standing exactly where I stood. Maybe you've been told, in so many words, that you're not real family. Maybe you've been made to feel like a guest in your own life, expected to give and give and give to people who would never once do the same for you. And maybe you're asking yourself the question I had to ask myself. When is it actually okay to stop? When is it okay to change the locks? Here's what this whole thing taught me. Blood doesn't automatically make you family. Setting a boundary doesn't automatically make you cruel. And respect isn't some bonus you earn later, it's the minimum price of admission to my life, my home, and whatever peace I've got left. Linda wanted to treat me like an outsider, so for one weekend I let her feel exactly what that costs. Was it harsh? Yes. Was it maybe a little cruel? I won't pretend otherwise. Was it necessary for me specifically? Without question. That lake house is the last piece of my mother I have left in this world. I wasn't going to hand the keys to someone who'd just told me, in front of everyone I love, that I didn't have a place in this family at all. Type locked out if you think I made the right call, and type too far if you think I should have handled it differently. I'll be reading all of it. And if you're in the middle of a family situation that's quietly breaking your heart right now, you are not alone in this. Protect your peace even when it's hard, even when people call you selfish for it. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is close the door. If this one hit home, subscribe. I put out a new story like this every week. I'm here to tell the truth, even the uncomfortable parts. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.